shit. So you mean to tell me that Law has a counterattack in place? This this is good. This is good. What the fuck, man? This is what I'm talking about. When I say Oda, continues to just hit me with the bob and weave, the zingers and everything. I'm thinking they're royally fucked. Okay, like you're seeing this Smiley, this slime, slowly making its way forward, and all of a sudden it just speeds the fuck up. Speeds the fuck up. Looks like it ended up taking one of the devil fruits in, and you just see Caesar just getting a hard on as he's watching, right? Like the guy is a complete sadist, right? He's someone who genuinely enjoys and gets off at seeing the mistreatment of others, seeing people in just absolute pain. And this is what was so interesting about this, right? As you see some of the men, they get covered, and then Caesar starts breaking it down, and he says, like, yeah, well, the poison, it covers them up like ash. It seeps into their body, into their bloodstreams. They're no longer able to move. What you're seeing now is essentially the true land of the dead. So basically, like some Walking Dead type shit. Only in this case, it's a fate worse than dying. This is some dark, twisted shit, and this is appropriate. This is some shit that you hear about this on the dark web. This is wow. Oda did not pull punches here. Oda did not pull punches here. This has me like literally. I'm reading it. I can feel like my skin kind of just tightening up right here because you're seeing in the way that some of those expressions are drawn, like you can just feel the agony. And you got Luffy at some point. Luffy is like that guy. You're in the movie theater and you're just getting so caught up in the scene. And Luffy's like, oh, don't go in there. Don't do it. Listen to me. You're gonna regret that. And Luffy's just shouting out and he's saying, Zoro, you gotta keep running. Run, run, run. And then all of a sudden Caesar just shows up and he says, yeah, oh, that's pretty fucked up. Those are some of your friends? No wonder they're so hard to kill. But guess what? Your friends, you with your 400 million berry bounty, one of the 7 warlords, Smoker, it doesn't matter. You're gonna show everyone that this gas that I got, this walking, I call it Walking Dead. That ain't what Caesar referred to it. He called it Land of the Dead. He's saying like you're gonna show everyone that I got that good shit, right? Like Caesar is acting like a straight drug dealer. This is like not even a drug dealer. He's acting like a straight drug kingpin. It's like, oh okay, you don't have my money. Fuck it, I'm going to fuck you up. You're going to give me collateral. And essentially that's kind of the stance that he's taken. And what's really interesting about this is as the Straw Hats and Smoker and Tashigi are getting moved into position, right? You just see the hope that lights up in the faces of these men who are following them, and before they're freaking out because they're realizing that gas that they're seeing, it isn't some horror movie. It's actually taking place on the island, and you got all of these people who all of a sudden saying, "Let us in, let us in." They're freaking out, and then even though Tashigi and Smoker are being held high up in the air, right? They're clearly being bandaged, right? The men still think that Tashigi and Smoker can save them. So it makes it that much harder to swallow when Oda probably just snuffs their ass out. It's like you're doing the worst. You're giving hope before you snatch it away. This is some shit that Oda was doing with Water 7, where Nico Robin, you could see that she was resigned to die, and then all of a sudden you see it where she's scraping and scratching, trying to live. Like at one point, she's biting onto the bridge, and you see the blood rolling down her teeth and everything, and she's just clinging so desperately to life after she had already given up hope, and now hope had been given to her. And it's just like you're about to see this with Smoker's Man. This is really, really hard to read. Like holy shit, One Piece is turning dark, and yet at the same time, we've seen darker shit. But when you look at the context of everything that's going on, it lets you know that Oda, we're gonna see the new world essentially be the darkest aspects of One Piece. Everything before now was a great appetizer. Now we're getting to the real meat, the meat and potatoes, man. Like, we're finally getting to some of this shit. This, and I like dark stuff, so I'm totally into this, but this is something that, again, because they're in the cage and everything, it's it's like Oda is not going to kill any of the Straw Hats. It's not going to kill Smoker. He's not going to kill Tashigi. Too many subplots that have been dropped there. And yet, if you just consider it for a second, that is the worst way to go. Essentially, they have nowhere to run. They're in those cages. They have the Sea Prism Stones weakening their bodies. And all of a sudden now, they're going to be covered in all this gas. They're going to be unable to move. This is crazy. This is crazy. Like, the way that this went, and to have Smoker essentially tell this Shishigi, like, yeah, you want to tell them about Vergo now? Go right ahead. And it's almost like Smoker saying, like, you need to wake the fuck up. You need to wake the fuck up. Like, if you're gonna make it, you got to start seeing this shit like it as it is. Because when you look at it, when Smoker found out that Vergo was working for Doflamingo, one of the things that Smoker said, he says, like, oh shit, I should have known better. And he was so disappointed in himself that, to use his words, he couldn't pick up the scent of a sewer rat. And so Smoker's been hardened. This is going to change Tashigi going forward. I almost wish that we could just get a bunch of cover stories following Tashigi after this, just to see her reaction to this shit. Because I think that after this, she has to fundamentally come out changed. She can't be the same character that she is right now. There's something that has to have happened that makes her character grow going forward. Now, on one hand, I get it. She's not a main character. And yet, at the same time, Oda does a good enough job with all these side characters that he doesn't really waste them. And that's one of the things when you write, is when you introduce a character, you have flat characters, you have characters who are really fleshed out, and sometimes with the flat characters, you want them to symbolize a certain thing. Even with Oda's secondary characters, a lot of them, not all of them, like the Onion and Pepper and the other kid from Syrup Village, they're flat as can be. They're flat as can be. The chick that gave Luffy like the milk and everything when Shanks was there, I can't remember her name. It starts with an M. The bartending chick, she's flat. Like, she's endowed, but she's a flat character. Like Nojiko, like, that's another character. She has a few layers to her, but for the most part, she's a flat character. So Oda does have some of those characters where it's just like, whatever. And yet he's got others who they have a supporting role, and they have enough layers to them to where you could see, as One Piece finishes up, you could say they could probably carry their own story. Maybe not for as long as One Piece, but they could carry their own story. And that's what I enjoy about some of these cover stories. While I don't talk about them all the time, unless something really, really jumps out at me, while I don't talk about them all the time, at the same time, those cover stories are proof, because Oda is telling a story before you even get to the main story. It's kind of, and I'm going to show, the geek in me a little bit here, right? Like, I don't make a lot of comic book videos anymore, and this really reminds me of how, like, when you had Thor and everything, like, if you can't tell, like, the way I am when I read stuff, I have to go back to the very beginning. I can't just pick something up and just start there. I got to read it chronologically as it gets released. So when I first got interested in the Thor character, right, I went back and I started reading his first appearances and everything. And what you were getting is you were getting the Thor character in the different comic books. And in the end of the comic books, after all of the credits and everything, and you get like the advertisements and stuff, you're getting side stories about the history of Asgard. You're getting side stories about things that are going on at Asgard at the same time. You're getting side stories about Thor's life before he even got to Earth. And that's what Oda does, only instead of it being on the back end, you're getting it on the front end. This is so beautiful how Oda is telling dual stories. This is probably the most underrated thing, because I can guarantee you, if that would have been something that I got told when Naruto was at its height, back in like 2010, when it's like 2010 or 11 when Naruto was at its peak. That should be when the Pain arc. No. Yeah. The Pain arc was 2009, and so the volumes will be coming out the next year. So like 2010 is when Naruto was at its sales peak, and so if I would have been told back then that yeah, the covers pages they tell a completely separate story, I probably would have jumped on One Piece all the way back then because like with the Naruto cover stories, like they weren't even cover stories, but the cover pages, they just foreshadowed stuff that would be coming on later on in the series. Like the Sage's Six Paths forms for Naruto and Sasuke was shit that you saw in some of the cover pages earlier on in the earlier volumes because Kishimoto hid a lot of stuff. And so that's why I would always read those. And yet at the same time, if somebody would have told me this is going on with Oda, I would have said, oh, well, fuck this. If he's got that much attention to detail, I got to give this a shot. So, no chapter question for this one. So, as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. Have an awesome